What's going on, guys? I am live from a new area, a new location. It is not the McKean Hall study room because apparently it got flooded in there and they destroyed my recording video room. So now I'm in the Willard building instead. And guess what? I got great news because James Harden, in, let's see, 6 days, will be a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. Daryl Morey will will it to be so. Reports coming out that the Nets and Sixers are in talks to make a James Harden for Ben Simmons trade. I'm just be blunt. I don't understand why the Nets would ever do this. I mean, maybe if the only reason I can think is that basically Harden's already come to them and pretty much made it clear that he will not be re-signing with Brooklyn, despite what he said in the public about that he's not exactly looking to leave. Signs and reports coming out the past few days certainly hint that that's the case. Now, if Harden was to be traded to Philadelphia next week, it would have major ramifications on this Eastern Conference race because obviously, you put Harden and Embiid together. It's not a 100% perfect fit, but I think it could really work. I think Harden, people are concerned that he would want the ball in his hands. I think in Brooklyn he has proved that he is able to be more of a point guard. He's a 10 assist guy in Brooklyn the past 2 years. He's deferred to Kevin Durant. I think he would defer to Joel Embiid as well. I think he would let Embiid cook. I think Harden would still give you 23, 24 a night, give you 8 to 10 assists. I think he would do his job. I think Harden and Embiid on the same team getting to the line. Like, can you imagine how lethal that would be? Now, when it comes to what the actual trade would be, there's some debate. Harden's upcoming free agency, which is kind of the reason that's what started these Harden to Philly talks, is that he's an impending free agent. He's a little unhappy, the reports say, with both his living situation in Brooklyn. Apparently he doesn't love that area that much, and also he's apparently frustrated with Kyrie Irving. He was expected to be a part of a big three in Brooklyn. He came to Brooklyn after Kyrie and KD were already there. Rumors say he's upset with Kyrie's behavior, and with Durant's current injury, the Nets have been losing a lot more. Harden's kind of had to put the team on his back because Kyrie isn't always playing because of he can't play home games. And the Nets bench is atrocious right now with a mix of injuries and guys who just flat out underperformed this year. So I can understand why Harden's been frustrated. He wants to leave. Now, Simmons, I was actually planning on making a whole video about the nonsense that came out about Ben the other day when he was talking about Embiid. Like the Ramona Shelburne, like, well, Ben didn't critique Embiid when he struggled in the Toronto series, so he expected the same from Embiid after last playoffs. Like, shut up. I was gonna make a whole video like dissing Ben about that, but there's no point because he's about to not be a member of the Sixers anymore. So I'm not gonna waste too much time. All I have to say is he's a loser, and I don't want him in Philly anymore, and he might be gone. Now Brooklyn. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Brooklyn and Philly, if they make this trade, I think the logical trade with Harden's free agency coming up, I think obviously it's Ben is the centerpiece. I think there's a chance they'll ask for Thibault, but if I was Daryl Morey, when you look at the Sixers' perimeter defense, it's already a little worse than last year without Ben. I think if we lose Thibault, unless we get some magic buyout person that I don't see coming, I think our defense is going to get a lot worse. It's going to be hard to stop a Giannis, a KD, even a DeMar DeRozan the way he's been playing this year when it comes down to it in the playoffs. So I think Matisse is worth keeping. The ideal trade in my eyes would be Ben and 2 to 3 first. Just throw the sink at Brooklyn. And if they really want a nice young piece or two, send Springer, send Shake, send Charles Bassey. Anything you can do to keep Thibault on this team. I'm not even entertaining the idea that we would trade Maxey for Harden. I would actually really be out on this team if they did that. I would be perplexed. I think what he has shown as a 20, I think he's 21 now, but a 21-year-old second-year player will say, I think he's demonstrated that he is a future all-star in this league and a cornerstone of the Philadelphia 76ers. Harden, still a very great player. I think he's shown signs of decline. He's no longer a top 5 player in the NBA. I think that's safe to agree. I think everybody can mostly agree on that. I think Embiid would be the clear-cut best player on this team. Harden would be a great, like an all-time great number 2. He's still certainly a top 10 or 12 guy in the league. I think it's a great pairing when it comes to Daryl's philosophy of we want stars on this team. And when you look at, people are talking about a Bradley Beal trade. I love Bradley Beal. Always been a big fan of him. The only time in his entire career where his team made a monumental playoff run, a noticeable, impressive playoff run, was when he was the clear-cut number 2. And I don't think that's what you want with the Sixers right now. As good as he is, I think it would have been a nice fit, but I don't know if that would have necessarily made us title favorites. I think Harden makes us the favorites in the East. The way the Bucks have been playing this year, they've been a bit of a letdown. I think we're better than the Heat. I think Embiid would be able to beat Bam Adebayo when they go toe-to-toe. Jimmy does scare me, but with Harden on our side, if hypothetically if we get Harden, when we get Harden, I think Harden swings the balance in our direction, and I actually think we would be able to beat the Heat in a series. The other day, I actually did a prediction. I said the finals would be Suns-Heat because I assumed the Sixers' second-best player was going to continue being Tyrese Maxey. But if this happens, I think we're the favorites in the East, and I don't say that as a biased fan. I think we would have the star power and the ammo in the cartridge, basically. Other than that, all I can say, really, like I was saying about Maxey, I would really be disappointed if they traded him. I don't think Daryl Morey will. He's a great GM. I consider him the best GM in the league. And I don't think he would do that. I would rather have Maxey than 3 years of Harden. Even if Harden right now raises our chance to win the title, I would rather keep Maxey long term than go ring hunting the next 2 years. But I don't think that will happen. So maybe I'm just wasted. Maybe I just wasted 2 minutes talking about it, but I just want to get that out there. But overall, if we had to trade Thibault, I'd be upset. I'd be concerned about our defense, but I wouldn't be mad because I think you need to get 2 All-Stars to make the finals, and we don't have that right now. Tobias would still be on the team. I think his fit would improve a lot. I think Harden would help him. I would want him shooting more threes than he is right now. I don't know if he'd be willing to do that, but I think the nonsensical drive, stop, and then down in the paint, looking around for a pass and then deciding to just settle on a shot that Tobias does all the time. I don't know how to describe it. That's what he does. I think there would be less of that. Still, maybe sometimes he'd do it, but I think it would be minimized. I guess Maxey would be the 6th man. I would prefer Seth to be the 6th man, actually, but you could argue Maxey could take on a Tyler Hero, Manu Ginobili type role of play 30, come off the bench, but finish the game. So there's a case to be made that Maxey could be the 6th man as well. But overall, I would love that team. I guess you would figure it's Harden, Maxey/Curry. Danny Green, I suppose, resumes his role as the starting small forward if Thibault is traded, but I would hope Thibault stays. Tobias and Embiid. And then your bench, you're looking at Niang, you're looking at Thibault or Danny if Thibault stays, whoever Doc decides to start. Drummond, of course, as the backup center. And I would really hope that they get one extra buyout guy or trade chip guy. Probably a buyout is more likely if we make a Harden-Simmons trade. I don't want Furk playing. I don't trust him this year. I like Furk, but he has been ice cold the last 2 months. And Point Furk has also worn me thin. So I'm hoping they get... We won't need a ball handler as much if we get Harden, but I would hope they get an extra 3-and-D wing, especially if Thibault is traded. Maybe a Thaddeus Young type if he's bought out by the Spurs. Bring him back to Philly. Come get a ring, Thad. Be a nice 18-minute-a-game backup defensive forward opposite Drummond. He could play some small ball 5 if necessary, as he showed in the Bulls last year. I was talking about him in one of my trade videos the other day. So he would be a nice extra addition. But overall, I would obviously be over the moon if this trade goes through. And Daryl Morey, we trust. I've been saying it for 2 years. He's the man who traded Al Horford for Danny Green, Josh Richardson for Seth Curry, and he's going to trade Ben Simmons for James Harden. His biggest heist yet. Trust the process. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Have a great weekend.